He is the Chief Operating Officer of Maynilad Water Services, Inc., the largest water services provider in the Philippines. And he is an out and proud gay man. With us for Thought Leaders, please welcome Randy Estrellado. Good to have you with us, Randy. Thank you so much for joining us.
And thanks for having me, Cassie.
It's a milestone year for you. It's been 10 years since you came out.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How's it been so far?
Well, I've said it in the past. I still think it's one of the most best decisions I've ever made in my life. And it's been rewarding in more ways than I ever imagined.
Best decisions in your life because of the timing, or maybe
because it made me realize not only my value, but as myself, and a person who is not hiding anything, but also the knowing people, how true people are around me, because sometimes if you're hiding, you don't really know if people treat you a certain way because you're not being true to yourself. But having come out that way, I know now that if you accept me, the whole me.
And it carries on a different meaning when you put that corporate setting as the menu, which you came out as a gay person.
Oh yeah.
How did that come along?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of a journey have you had? Because you've been through so many industries, starting out with cement, even in broadcasting, and then before water treatment services.
Mm-hmm. Well, to a certain extent, when I came out 10 years ago, you could say I had nothing to lose because I was already Chief Finance Officer of Maynilad, and we had been successful at taking that company out of rehab when we took over in 2007. So that was I think 7 years after. And when the opportunity came up, I said, this is something that I believe, if it goes the wrong way, then I can always just, pack up my bags and start over somewhere else. But instead, my relationship with the company and the people have just I think blossomed a lot more when I came out. Mm-hmm.
Which is why I go back to the timing, because it's a lot of different industries you've been involved in. You've been in cement, telco, broadcasting, entertainment, before water.
Yes, but of course, you have to realize I was a young person at the time, and I've written about this in one of my first jobs in cement. The HR manager told me, specifically said, mag-asawa ka na para ma-promote ka na namin. So, and that's funny because I was, I think, 27 years old, 2 years out of business school. I was having fun with my job, and I was not even thinking of getting promoted. But when they told that to me, it was like being thrown cold water. It's like saying, maybe I don't have a place in this company because, although I wasn't out, I had no plans of getting married. I never had a girlfriend. So I was wondering if, was this really someplace? Was this really a place for me? Or is there, in a bigger sense, was what he said true? That maybe there was no place for a person like me in the corporate world. And in fact, that was one of the reasons why I did come out. It's really because I never had anyone like me to look up to, or even to see that there's this particular route available to me. 'Cause growing up, you never hear of gay or lesbian corporate leaders. Maybe you'd hear some of them in the arts, and some, in the worst cases, they're even made fun of. So I thought that it was important, having already even at the time achieved what I'd already achieved. It was important for me to be able to say my truth and have some other people see that, maybe it's not so bad at all.
But how did you react to that HR leader when that was told off you?
I remember just laughing it off, which is something that we get we get used to, from your titas. Oh, big girlfriend ka na ba? So you just really make we learn how to laugh off these kinds of comments that what we call this, that the answers would be difficult. But like I said, it triggered more a desire to look someplace else for a place that would welcome me. And then, in fact, I think that's probably one of the reasons I ended up in broadcasting or in entertainment. Maybe thinking that, maybe in that world, they would be more accepting of LGBT people.
And are they?
To a certain extent, but they also, at least in the 90s, so I was there in the 90s, they also dealt with a lot of stereotypes. So gay people are not really exactly expected to handle money. And so you'd hear a lot of negative comments about people, that you shouldn't be trusted with money because you do it for this and then that. And so that also, even though there are a lot of gay people around, it was not a place I would have been comfortable coming out. Because even the gay people in positions there, they had to laugh at because you have to imagine, that time, all the senior people are old school guys. And they did make fun of LGBT people. And then even the LGBT people there would laugh, just maybe to please who they perceive to be the bosses. So again, it was not yet that comfortable for me to come out. So there's a certain extent, I guess there's this, like I said earlier, there's timing where you are in your career. And then again, maybe even if it's not explicit, you do get to have a sense of what the culture is like in your organization and how they will be willing to accept you.
What was that culture in your current organization now that convinced you this is it? This is the right time and the right place?
It was a very collegiate. Maynilad is a very collegiate organization. It's not dictatorial. We look for solutions, both top down and bottom up. And at the same time, there's a lot of young people, and a lot of Maynilad is basically an engineering company, but we have a lot of female engineers. So maybe 30% of our 20 to 30% of our engineers are female. So you could see that this is not a traditional, what you would have perceived a traditional company to be. So I knew, and plus, I was already deeply embedded in the organization for the last, at that time, 7 years. And I've already had a lot of friends. So to a certain extent, even if I wasn't sure, I maybe deep down I was. Maybe deep down I felt certain that I would be accepted. But of course, there's always that question mark until it happens.
And it happened in writing of an article, quite uniquely, in a corporate magazine of the First Pacific Leadership Academies through Ars Docendi.
Yes, I did. I don't know if you've seen that magazine, but it features all of our leaders.
Yes.
So when I always say this, and it's probably true, they ran out of all the CEOs. They've already featured Al Panillo, Mon Fernandez. And I was the first. Yeah, I know. Well, I was the first chief finance officer that was going to be featured, and I knew the format. It's like 7-8 page spread, and there's always something about the person's family. But when I got the questions from First Pacific, I noticed there was nothing on my personal life. It was all about finance. So I don't know if they were giving me an out or because I didn't have a conventional family. So hmm? No, what I did was I asked the First Pacific, the head of First Pacific then, the Leadership Academy, Roy Valle, said, I will agree to be featured, but you have to make me write, you have to let me write a spread on myself, an article on myself.
Did you explicitly say what the content will be?
No, I didn't. And I also didn't ask permission from anyone. So Royce passed away, but he supported this, and I sent it. And the main driver for me then was, people are talking about their families, and I did have a family. I had a partner for then 7 years. So Dr. Keith.
Now going on 17.
Now going on our 18th year by 18th by November. So I didn't. I thought it would be unfair to him if they did the feature in me, and while everyone else talks about their families, I would not talk about him. So I said, this is something I had to do.
So when you hit press send on that email with the content of what you wrote, what was the reaction?
Well, Roy welcomed it. That was not yet that was not the test, right? The test would be how the other people in the company would react, and to my pleasant surprise, it was really accepted very well. And considering, even at the time, we were still Maynilad was still in transition, and that we had the old employees and the new employees. And a lot of the old employees were typical, traditional religious people. So I did not expect them to be, the young people. I kind of thought, it would be easy for them to accept. But I never anticipated that the older women would be just as accepting. In fact, I keep saying this. My first day, since that thing was published, I had women hugging me. As if I were like not prodigal son, but like their favorite nephew or grandson.
Reaction when you republished it in your blog, because that's a totally different kind of audience. Did you receive the same kind of?
Oh yeah. Well, at the same time, I also published it on Facebook in 2014, and that's why I consider that piece a milestone, because of course it gets shared, and it's because of that piece that eventually I got invited to talk to other groups. So that was published 2014. Of course, the usual, it's your friends who will see it, they'll share it with others. I did not, maybe it was not until 2017 that I got someone who I did not know who invited me to talk at the Dutch Embassy for IDOT, the International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia. That was my first public appearance speaking on my story.
A very life-changing event with just one article that's been published and then reposted on Facebook. In all this time, was Dr. Keith's reaction? And had he already come out by then?
He did.
And had the same kind of journey as you?
He's actually an interesting person. Very different. Our coming out story is very different because he's so close to his parents. Even before he had his first relationship, he actually already told his parents he was gay, which is 20, 21. So he's, in fact, outside of him loving me, I would not even. It would be hard to imagine he was gay. He was very traditional, very does not have the typical the typical things that gay people like or even talk about. So, so they call this. So he's never been in the closet, but he also doesn't feel the need to talk about it as much as I do.
But did he mind that? And did he see the struggle that you really needed to be understood, to be accepted?
I don't. Well, first of all, I imagine it was flattering because it is the main reason. I mean, everything else that followed was an offshoot of my not wanting him to be treated differently from anyone else who has a relationship with the person being featured in the company magazine. So no, I don't think he had an issue with it. Maybe he would be. Maybe he would not be comfortable with all the other things that followed, like getting invited here and there, and really strangers opening up. But like I said, because I did not have this growing up, I think I really thought it was important to be available and to be sharing my story because so many people my age don't get to experience the life that I've had
In the late 50s.
yes, or even having a relationship, living in the Philippines, being out at work, having your family know you, having my family know my partner, and knowing my partner's family. It was something that typically, at least when I was growing up, something you did not see in the Philippines. And so in fact, I do make it a point to continue to show that this is all possible. So I regularly on my Facebook account, I regularly show me and him with my family at work. Even in the Maynilad Christmas parties for the executives, I bring Keith, and also the rest of the executives know him. So it's been really a very fulfilling I call this work experience.
The offshoots that you mentioned carry benefits for the company because you've been through 3 transformations. I was just with Mon Fernandez in an internal audit forum where he described that whole journey from the time of privatization in 97 to the concession agreement renegotiation. And in all that span, you've been part of the process. Right? That span of time as well, you've come out. So what change had come up in the decision-making process as CFO in those 3 different transformations?
I was CFO for part of it and COO for the second half of it. Maybe a little bit of background. I've been involved with Maynilad, or what we call the new Maynilad, ever since the MVP, the MCI consortium took over.
So that's 97.
That's 2007. Because 97 was originally the Lopez Group. They won in the privatization, but they had difficulties and they returned it to government. It was rebid. I was part of the team that bid for Maynilad. And when we won the bid, I was assigned to Maynilad as CFO. So first, my biggest role there was as head of finance. We took the company out of rehab because the company is essentially bankrupt and corporate rehab, and we could not do all the capital expenditures required to improve services. So that was my first role. We raised the funding to take the company out of corporate rehabilitation. What we call this as in the course of the new Maynilad, there became difficulties with government on the interpretation of the concession agreement, beginning with questions about the recoverability of income tax and everything. And I became the official spokesperson at the time to talk about it. But that also coincided with the time that I came out in the company. So to me, that was what do you call this? It was fortuitous because if a gay man in the closet, I guess the scariest thing that could happen to you is being outed without your consent, or and everything that you fear that comes with it. But since I had already come out, I was even though a lot of times I would be facing so many. I'd be appearing in TV shows to talk about issues, many times online, etc., etc. I was never afraid anymore of anyone just saying, "Hey, whatever whatever bad thing you can think of just because you're gay." It was not something I was afraid of, because so even if you heckle me, the worst thing I just say, so what? It's nothing, not new. It's out in the open anyway. So it was not something I was afraid of anymore. So I could focus. On one, delivering the Maynilad message. Second, also eventually to get to where we are now, where we have a new concession agreement, and we're doing what needs to be done to continue to improve services in the West Zone.
And does the appreciation extend to your teammates that the time that you had come out and became the spokesperson, the face of Maynilad in dealing with the renegotiation of the concession agreement, that it mattered, that you felt understood and accepted?
I'll clarify that by saying that that part is external. Negotiating, that's all external. I think what is more critical in coming out is in the internal part, dealing with the crisis. Remember, we had that when I was already chief operating officer, when we had the 2019 water crisis and everything else that has happened since then. And I think it is critical that the relationship I have with our people is one based on truth, openness, authenticity, being able to say what needs to be said. Because I think that's the only way to solve problems. You can't solve problems when people don't speak up. No one has the solution to everything. It has to be a jointly something that we all have to work together on. And if someone is not listened to, or someone feels uncomfortable speaking the truth, then we will be missing some things. So I think that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of in terms of my contribution to the culture. It's this culture of openness, of not being afraid to speak up, of listening to everybody, and making sure that the most quiet person is given a chance to say something.
And say something in a milieu that is probably not as supportive. If I may, and in the legal system, the definition of the rules of engagement, I mean, the Supreme Court back in January 2020 dismissed a motion to reconsider its September 2019 ruling on same-sex marriages. And in fact, it also said it effectively concluded this case, quote unquote, with finality. So there is that kind of challenge that couples and those in the community face if they decide to live here and live out their truth in a country that's not as supportive.
Well, I did read up on that case when it came out, and I think it's not as clear cut, because I think what they were trying to prove was that gay marriage is inherently unconstitutional. So, and then they had an issue with the methodology of how it was brought to the court. So I don't necessarily, I think what they ruled with finality is that particular question of whether gay marriage is constitutional or not via that approach. But I think they left room for our lawmakers to do something about it. In many ways, what makes it controversial is because people have their I guess deep feelings about the word marriage. But what I would flip it around as is, I think, maybe to consider is for our lawmakers to consider, like, for instance, people like me and my partner, we've been together, like I said, going on our 18th year, and legally we have no rights as far as taking care of each other in the hospitals, as far as the life and the assets that we built together. I mean, if anything happens to either of us, really we have the remaining partner has no rights to the life that the two have built. So I think in the interest of fairness, whatever you call it marriage, call it domestic partnership, so however it is called, I think it's a question of respecting rights of the individuals, especially if you're not hurting anyone. I don't see how it hurts anybody, and so I do hope that there will come a time that will happen in the Philippines. Maybe not in my lifetime. You consider given how these things happen in the Philippines, how it's just on divorce, we're like the last country in the world to have it. So probably not happen until after divorce is passed, if it's ever passed.
Exceptions, if not same-sex marriage, as you say is quite sensitive, and partnering that with same-sex, would you be willing to compromise towards a bill that would at least recognize domestic partners?
And I don't even the word compromise means we already have something. It's not even like we have anything. So basically, what anything that's added to what we don't have now is a victory, I think.
What's confounding is the SOGI bill. As you know, that's festered for like 20 years. It was first filed in 2000. It got some traction in Congress and then got a pushback from the Senate. Why do you think it's so difficult for lawmakers to pass the SOGI bill?
The things they don't even talk about what the alternate name of that bill, which is an anti-discrimination bill.
Yes.
So it's and
do you think that they should?
Yeah, they should, because I cannot imagine anyone disagreeing that we shouldn't be discriminating against different kinds of people. It's just world. So many things that each of us can contribute to this world, and to discriminate against anyone is really sad, which is something I'm very proud of in Maynilad, because when we took over in 2007, we did not have a particular policy in that. By 2012, we had an equal employment opportunity, and we specifically mentioned regardless of sex, sexual orientation, age, religion, physical disabilities. So, period. In line with many sustainability measures, by I believe 2020 or 2021, we've even expanded that to say to include a non-discrimination policy. So we will not discriminate and will give equal opportunity, not just to employment, but to promotions as well. So we have a very progressive employment, human personnel policy in Maynilad, and I'm proud of that, because it's not something that our lawmakers had to dictate. It's something that we came up with on our own.
And do you find that sort of culture is now permeating in different industries, in your communication with persons within the community, also in the corporate world?
There's one of the major drivers of promoting diversity and inclusion in the Philippines are really the multinational business process outsourcing, financial institutions, and in fact, they have a group called Phil, called man, sorry. So then there's a group of these of employees involved in these institutions that are LGBT, and in fact they've invited me to one of their talks maybe around 2018, and at the time when they invited me, there was no local company at all. It was all your Wells Fargo Bank, City, etc., etc. But in the last year alone, I've seen this. I keep in touch. I know that they've been adding some domestic companies already, and I know that aside from being the right thing to do, it's also really one way to attract good talent. Because if I was still starting out and looking for employment opportunities, I would definitely focus on or prioritize companies that are more accepting and have all these what they call this progressive policies on employment.
So would you therefore say that we're moving the needle when it comes to the corporate setting, when it comes to diversity and inclusion within the LGBTQI plus community versus government?
Well, yeah, that
Private sector driving
that one, yeah, I would say so. Except
conversation.
except that the thing also is we're still essentially a poor country, so it's many companies cannot prioritize that, and I understand. I understand that. I understand if companies have to prioritize between, do I give partner benefits versus benefits to like the third child, which some companies they limit it to the first or the second child. So I understand. I understand that sometimes economics will drive these things, but certainly in industries where attracting talent is important, definitely progressive SOGI policies will make the most progressive ones will be the most successful ones.
But it does help if you have a pope who is supportive, and we are getting that with Pope Francis. He's been widely credited for making moves to welcome the LGBTQI plus community. He's delivered mostly inclusive messages, deciding even late last year to allow priests to bless same-sex couples. What do you make of that engagement when it comes from the Pope, the head of the Catholic Church, telling all its flock it's okay? Does that matter in a big way, especially in predominantly Roman Catholic country as the Philippines?
Mm-hmm. It's a very sensitive thing to talk about, primarily because religion is very personal, and religion also what do you call this? And that particular religion sometimes also persecutes people like me. So I think I do have to take everything with a grain of salt as far as that is concerned, because otherwise I don't think I don't think I'd be able to function if I believed that someone like me will go to hell for who I am. So I know the value. I know its value, and I know it's value for many people. But I guess I choose how it affects me, and then it's easier, I think, than having to deal with different like that. That's as you alluded to. It's a fairly recent thing. and we don't know if what how the winds will change that in the coming years.
And that was just December when he allowed priests to bless same-sex couples, because I have got one more reason. Now he's accused of repeating anti-gay slurs. And it's not just once during a meeting with priests in Rome. It's the offense that he committed, apparently and allegedly, yet again, 2 weeks ago. So what does it make you feel when you hear that the Pope has been accused of anti-gay slur?
Well, one, I don't know the whole story, so it's very difficult about these things now. But I guess related to what I said earlier, you have to have a strong sense of belief in yourself and knowing if you're right or wrong. And then I think I don't need someone saying what I am is right or wrong. As long as I know I'm doing the right thing.
Health is a bit of a challenge when it comes to the community. The Philippines just recorded its biggest so far when it comes to new HIV cases, 55 per day, new cases per day, which the Department of Health Secretary says is a world record. Now, that's pretty concerning. We do have volunteer clinics to educate and make people aware within the community considered at risk, the LGBTQI plus community at risk. What kind of support do you think is needed to ensure that we keep everybody safe in the community and that the numbers don't just go up like that and reach record-breaking numbers?
Well, I saw that article, so I actually did a little bit of research because I wanted to put the number in context, and then it's a wide range. I think it's not as high as in the African countries, where they're still seeing it in hundreds per day. So I think ours is an alarming number because we're for a country like us that doesn't have the same problems. It's on a high level, but because if you look at Thailand, I think they have like something like 18 a day, and the US has maybe 80 a day, but there are 300 million people versus our 100 million. So having said that, I think it's a combination. Maybe I think what's happened is just maybe complacence, because I did grow up at a time when we didn't even know how it was transmitted, and getting it was a death sentence when it isn't anymore. So maybe that's why we kind of let go of being more vigilant. I think it's really a government and private sector working together, one to ensure that there's access to testing, and then for infected people to be treated, or access to treatment. Because like in Africa, the reason they have high numbers is because there are a high number of people are infected. So if we are also able to bring down the levels of even the people who are infected, then it can get to a level where they can't transmit anymore, right? So, and then also education. I remember when in the late 80s, anywhere you went, you had condoms, you had brochures about safe sex, and that doesn't seem to be the case anymore. So maybe that's where the complacency has come in. So just think just government and private sector working together to just to keep the awareness alive, and then to get people to understand how to control this.
There is a lot of stigma still, even to talk about it openly as we're talking about it. Secretary Herbosa said the numbers have come up because a lot more are getting tested. But as you advise the young and to try to keep safe, what would be the number one recommendation that you'd have for them in a country where it's not really out there? I mean, it's not taught in class as openly. And we're just not talking about the community here, but, heterosexuality in general.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough.
Yeah. What I would say is definitely not. I won't tell young people to they call this to be celibate, because something young people won't do, which I didn't do when I was younger. It's really just promote safe sex. That there is a way to do it so that you don't get infected, or if you're already infected, you don't transmit.
Well, you're reaching another milestone. Next year, you're going to be turning 60.
Yeah.
You don't look like it. You're doing 59 today.
Thank you.
What plans do you have going forward?
Well, Maynilad has a mandatory retirement policy of 60. And we also have a very strong career succession planning program. So early on, even for, if something happened to me, this already person is identified as a successor. So yeah, I do plan to retire when I turn 60. So I've been in corporate basically for the last 40 years or almost 40 years. And so I want to do things as myself, but no matter how I would put it, today I can't go out and not be Maynilad. That which is why I don't do, especially after the water crisis of 2018. I don't do a lot of pride stuff. I choose very few events, mostly because I think it's important, but at the same time I limit it because I cannot separate. It's very difficult to separate my Maynilad persona from myself. So that's something I'd like to explore. What to do after I'm no longer with Maynilad. Some time back, I was very interested in a foundation in the US called It Gets Better, because it really resonates with me, the message. Because growing up, it was almost, what do you call this? At times, I had suicidal thoughts at a certain point in my life, just because I could not imagine the life that I have today. So someone telling me then that it gets better would have been very important. The only thing that's stopping me now from saying that, okay, after I end my corporate life and I'll begin It Gets Better in the Philippines, is someone told me recently, no, it's so different now. Maybe it's not an issue anymore. And I don't know. It's something maybe I still have to explore, because maybe it's right. Maybe the young people don't have the same issues anymore as I did growing up. But definitely, I want to be doing something for the LGBT community, and I want to do it for young people, so that whatever the issues are, that they get to do this, that they can have a life where they're open, they have relationships with their families, with their loved one, with their work, schoolmates, without hiding anything. That's something that I think is important, to have a fulfilling life and happy life.
And to explore further with Dr. Kate, you're 18.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's the secret to a long-lasting relationship?
I've certainly changed a lot. Keith and I are each other's seventh partner. So we've had 6 other tries before. And then this is our time. To a certain extent, you could say, maybe finally you got it right. But it's nothing, it's no secret. It's really just compromise and respect. And something maybe that was difficult for me to do when I was growing up, and with all the issues, maybe with all the issues, I wonder. Actually, I wonder how much of failed relationships also has to do with being in the closet, not being open, not being authentic. But it all in this particular sense, on our 7th year, I came out, have more authentic life, and I think that also helped the relationship, because it's something that there's no hiding, there's no thinking what did I tell this person, what I did last weekend. It's all out there. I'm very happy, and I do look forward to, that's one of the reasons I do want to retire, is as well as we can still do things together as a healthy couple. Yeah.
And also to take care of Pet Pablo, of course, the very famous pet in the picture. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've shared all in your corporate life and beyond.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll catch us again next Thursday at 9 p.m. Philippine Standard Time on One News. You can also check out The Long Conversation on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. I'm Kathy Yang. This is Thought Leaders.